You live.
Welcome to Slow News Day Live. My name is Steve Poikinen. I am here in beautiful Boulder Creek, California, and this is gonna be raw, y'all. If you're a regular viewer of the show, you will remember back in November. Welcome to Slow News Day Live. My name is Steve Poikinen. I am here in beautiful Boulder Creek, California. And you'll remember back in November when I had this is gonna be raw, y'all. What the fuck is this? If you're a regular viewer of the show, was that you, Josh?
Yeah, it was me. It unmuted
Josh
for some
is
reason.
fired. Anyway, I don't have another tech guy. I'm going to keep Josh. Back in November, I spent a while on a live stream with Ian Schlakman because he had become disaffected by the way the Green Party was handling their primary process. He, in fact, left the Green Party entirely, removed his name from candidacy for president, and the backlash from that was a little bit disproportionate. So let's fast forward a couple of months. Dario Hunter is on record talking about the Green Party primary rigging. Chad Wilson, who has also been on this show, on record talking about the Green Party primary rigging. And just a couple of days ago, lo and fucking behold, the Green Party rigged their primary. So joining me now is Ian Schlakman, and we're gonna go all the way through this process, and according to Ian, some names will be named. So hunker down, get whatever vice you prefer in front of you, and let's fucking do this. Ian Schlakman, it's good to see you, brother. How are you?
It's good to see you, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, man. There's some, because of my position with Action for Assange, there's some potential backlash that I'm going to receive by hosting this interview and getting this out. And I told you, and I just told Josh here now, that I am always going to be on the side of the truth. So whatever comes my direction for doing this is going to be thrown at me by some really fucking I don't know, rightfully angry people, and the only reason they're going to be rightfully angry is because they have been correctly named.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've believe it or not, I have sort of held back a little bit on some of the perspective of the Green Party's rigging, and I'll get into some of the reasons for that. But I guess I want to take people back a little bit, because I think there's a lot of folks that are just really surprised that this could happen in the Green Party. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about how this happened and why this happened. So if you'll allow me, I guess I'll start. I want to just start by saying that I joined the Green Party in 2014. That's when I first ran for office with the Green Party. And I found them to be a very fine institution at the time. Didn't really see anything wrong with the way they were operating. They just didn't really have any political capital to speak of. Maybe almost nothing, to be frank with you, except the ballot line. In 2015, after I finished running for Congress, I started to volunteer with Jill Stein. And you have to understand something that's really important about the position that I was in. Maryland sits in a very unique spot for the Green Party. And it's because Maryland is the home of Margaret Flowers and Kevin Zeese. And those two individuals are very important because they run a faction. I actually think I can name the faction now. It's the Green Party Power Faction. I think that's the name of the group that they formed. In that faction are a bunch of folks. It's Ajamu Baraka, who they personally brought in to be Jill Stein's VP, and Andrea Merida, who we all know from the Green Party of Colorado. When I started to volunteer for Jill Stein, Jill and this other faction were at odds. I'm putting that too diplomatically. I'm still in diplomat mode, and there's no reason to be anymore. These two factions hate each other. Primo Nutmeg did a really good job of showing the rivalry between Zeiss in particular and Jill Stein. So when you're in Jill Stein's world, it's all this faction's horrible, and we have to get rid of them, and they're ruining the Green Party. And she had a point. I mean, they really do kind of ruin the Green Party. If you're inside the Green Party at all, and you're on one of the national listservs, not really in Maryland for some reason. Maybe they knew not to shit where they eat. But on the national listservs, if you get a nasty gram from Kevin Zeiss, you're going to be sitting in it for days. I mean, he just slams you and slams you and slams you with a load of bullshit. Yeah, forgive my language. I'm going to keep cursing though. I know I said you could.
This is Slow News Day, and there's look. Reverend Annie curses on this show.
That's true. That's a good point.
You know?
I got to do her proud. That's a good point. So let's just keep going here. So and Jill would point out frequently to her crew that all of these people that this faction were driving away from the party, and that she would try to corral them to come back. I don't want to name individual names of the people that were leaving and coming back. That's too much. But I'm going to name the faction heads. And so this was drilled into us as Jill Stein folks for years. I mean, you have to understand, I was with the Green Party for 6 years. 5 of those I knew Jill Stein. I volunteered on her campaign. We frequently spoke. I would dare say we spoke every month. And this was like her number one issue, is that this faction is going to ruin the Green Party. And they had a plan for taking it over. And she was goddamn right. They had a plan for taking over the Green Party. Everyone should take a look at Andrea Merida's record. Maybe I'll just go by AMC. That's her nickname. Over in Colorado, because she is actually someone who stole from the Board of Education that she was running as a Democrat, mind you. And so then she switches to the Green Party, and I guess she's got a clean slate. I don't know what that's about. But, it's really important that we understand that this is I was in Maryland, and I don't think the other folks around the country knew that the Green Party power faction, the Zeiss, Flowers, Andrea faction, knew exactly who their opponents were, had a list of names down to every single person. They literally kept like a what is that, a Reagan or Nixon enemies list.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a joke. So these groups hated each other, and they hated each other, and there's all these different reasons when they worked on Stein's campaign a little bit together, they grew to hate each other even more. But what became very clear, and what I didn't know about, is that there was a very obvious and well done. I mean, I have to give the Green Party power faction some credit, because they outmaneuvered the Stein faction every single step of the way. They were the ones that I have shown that have written the rules, or at minimum, even the people that are in power that don't like me admit that they changed the rules on the Presidential Campaign Support Committee. They wrote the rules to see how they were going to get Howie to run, and how his campaign was going to run. Now, let me back up one more second here, because this is really important. People are always asking, why? Why would you do this? Why would you waste your time taking over the Green Party? I don't understand.
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
It's not. It's not about taking over the Green Party. The Green Party is broke. The Green Party has no money nationally. It always struggles to get ballot access. There's no plan at the Green Party National for how to run the Green Party National, except it's a bunch of people in a steering committee and then a national committee fighting over debt. That's one of my friends used to say that. The money in the Green Party is in the presidential campaign. This faction, the Green Party power faction, saw how much money Jill raised in 2016. And that was already a record breaker from her 2012 run. So they thought, they hate Jill. They don't think Jill is good at all. They think she's uncharismatic and all this other kind of stuff. So they decided that we could run literally anybody. And we're going to run someone. And we're going to run his campaign. We're going to hold the bank account. We're going to hold the staff list. We're going to run it our way. And that's why you see after call after call after call to get AMC to step down as the chair of the Howie campaign, he won't do it. Probably because he can't do it. Probably because she controls the purse of the campaign. She controls all the influence of the campaign. She controls the master list, not Howie. So it's something that's really important to understand, that they were quite covetous of the fact that Jill Stein and the Jill Steinites were in control of what they consider to be the Green Party's largest resource, which is the presidential campaign. So, and this is what really burns me up. And I'm just gonna, and I two things that burn me up, and I'm just gonna give a little bit of a time frame here. One is in November of 2018, I went to Kevin Zeese and Margaret Flowers' house, and I told them clear as day that I'm going to run for the presidential spot. And I told them, I know they don't like Jill. I know they don't want Jill to run again. They should support me. They kind of seemed hesitant. Kevin was a little weird about it. But what was even stranger was I looked them dead in the eye and I said, are you running? Their answer was no. I said, are you running someone else? Their answer was no. Their answer was no, I'm not running anybody else. Later on that day, that same day, I found out they were. And later on, I found out it was Howie Hawkins. Let me tell you this, if they're listening right now, they could have prevented a whole bunch of bullshit in terms of me running and wasting my time, because I knew how hard they were going to fight. I knew that they were going to fight dirty. They had AMC on their team. AMC fights dirty. She's probably listening to this and laughing to it and thinking to herself, that's true. So I knew right there was going to be a bloodbath. So I don't understand why these cowards had to lie to my face. I will never trust them again. No one should trust them. They're not reputable people. In fact, the next time I really heard from them was a shitty letter I got that I published out there for everyone to see from Kevin Zeese, which is the stupidest fucking thing you could do. So instead of apologizing for lying to my face, this asshole sends me a shitty letter. All right, fine. So I took that letter to my friend who I call monthly, Jill Stein. And I said, Jill, these people are ponied up.
Real quick, when did that letter get sent to you?
It was like late spring, I think, 2019, and maybe March. I'd have to look.
I'm trying to keep the timeline straight here.
It's public, right? So I think it's like early spring 2019. So early spring 2019, the draft Howie Hawkins committee finally becomes the launch committee for Howie Hawkins' campaign. Who's the head of that? Of course, Margaret Flowers. All right. I mean, this was her baby. Margaret Flowers is sort of like how do I put this? Almost like an evil genius. Like people really are a bit fooled by her. She has quite the political prowess, and to be frank with you, way more so than the Stein faction. And let me keep going on this because this is kind of important, right? About that point in time, I finally get a hold of Howie. Everything I talked to Howie about, like, wasn't what I heard from Margaret and Kevin. Like, Howie tells me how much he doesn't like Venezuela, he doesn't like Cuba, all this shit about Syria. Like, it sounded like I was talking to, your I mean, like, he's not anti-imperialist. There's really no way around it.
Casually racist Democrat ant.
I mean, his policy positions were seriously worse than Tulsi Gabbard's. There's no way around that. Now, I think his campaign has done a lot to kind of cover that up and hide the fact. But I mean, there's nothing else to really discuss about it. The brilliance of them picking Howie And people always ask me this: why would Margaret and Kevin, who are anti-imperialists, who sat down in the Cuban embassy, the Venezuelan embassy, pick Hawkins, who is a pro-imperialist? And the answer is so simple. It's because Hawkins was a Jill Steinite light. He was a moderate. He was one of the few moderates. And he is well liked amongst the party. So when I used to say that the Green Party is a cult, I still think it's a cult. I think it's becoming more like a cult every day. But it's definitely a social club. You can't tell me it's not a social club. And people like Hawkins. They don't care about his policies. They do not care about Hawkins' policies. They care about the fact that he is liked. All right? This is really important.
Is he open to suggestion from the anti-Stein faction? Like, what I'm getting with here is let's say that for some insane magical reason, Howie Hawkins becomes the next president. Is Howie Hawkins the president, or is the people behind him really the president? Like, how much of his own man is Howie Hawkins? That's what I guess that's what, a better way to put it.
I mean, I'm sure he'd give you a different answer, but my answer is clear as day. His faction is in control of his campaign. That Green Party power faction is now the Howie Hawkins faction. Simple as can be. There's no way around this. And what's really troubling about this is that if you knew anything about the way the Green Party worked nationally, there's a very large group, the National Committee, and then there's the Steering Committee. And in both of these committees, the Z's faction, who I'm now calling the Hawkins faction, was a minority. For years, they were a minority. And the Jill Stein faction loves Jill. But more importantly, they're moderates. I mean, they're just like, social club type people. Like, they just didn't like the methods of AMC, of Zeus, of Flowers. They just didn't like their methods. I mean, in the middle of me publishing I published a letter that Z sent to me, and then I also published a little bit of info, what I knew at the time about AMC. And I got a call from a man, I will never forget this. I got multiple calls from people in Colorado. And they were like, did I lose you? I can't hear you.
No, sorry. I was yelling at one of my children, and I wanted to be muted.
Okay. No, I thought you were muted. Okay. Well, when I was running, I got multiple calls from people in Colorado after I sent that letter out. And, they were just like, oh, God, Andrea devastated the Green Party here. We've been kicked out of our own party, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot to say about that. I wasn't in Colorado. I don't know all the details. But literally, one man called me crying that he helped build the Green Party of Colorado and then was kicked out. I mean, I think that speaks to the style of this faction and what they want. They want undivided loyalty to them. They will not tolerate dissent. This is not a big tent party. It is a small enough to drown in the bathtub style party that is now under the control of AMC, of Hawkins, of Zeus, of Flowers. And Hawkins is barely in control of his own campaign, to be frank with you. I mean, that's really the way that I see it. And that's the way it's going to stay. So this was in late. The only one, by the way, and I just want to give this quick shout out to just show the Hawkins team that I'm being impartial here. The only one of their team to ever call me and just have an honest fucking conversation with me was, rest in peace, Bruce Dixon, who I knew very well. And fuck the rest of them for not just having the balls to pick up the fucking phone and just say, hey, we're running this old guy because we think we can, trick enough Greens into supporting us. Well, lo and behold, they did. I mean, between me and Dario, we definitely called every single non-factionalized Green or Jill Stein Green and said, how are we going to address this? These folks are not just coming for the presidency, they're coming to take over the goddamn party. They're making their move. And every one of them would go, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Except for one Jill Stein folk, and that's Jill Stein herself. And if you're wondering, Kevin and Margaret, why I released that email that Kevin sent to me, it's because Jill Stein told me to. It's because Jill Stein said, then I got that email, you got to get this email out there. This is important. People need to see the way Kevin Zeese operates. So I released it. And you know what? I mean, I'm just going to come right out and say it. I was a fucking pawn for both of these fucking factions. I tried my hardest to bring these two factions together in an effort to focus on down-ticket candidates. And I'll tell you what I've told every single Green who's asked me about this. The Hawkins faction is 8 steps ahead of you. If you're playing a chess game, they are the IBM's blue robot that's going to destroy you. You have no chance. Just flee the party now. Run away. They are the Borg. It's assimilate or die with the Hawkins faction. You cannot speak out against them.
This is starting to sound an awful lot like the inner circle of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign.
Well, it's worse. It's far, far worse. It's far worse. So, there was a rumor going around that Dario, because Dario came onto the scene around this time, early 2019. I was one of the first people to declare. And there was a rumor that Dario and Jill were teamed up, that this was Jill's guy. Okay?
All right.
False. That's not true. Didn't happen. That was not what was happening. I think Jill gave Dario a lot of false hope in the beginning, but then abandoned him pretty quickly. Let me say this. So then I started to talk to Dario one-on-one, and then Jill, we asked her repeatedly to get into the race, to get into the fight. One way or another, I asked her to back me. No. I asked her to publicly back Dario. No. I told her, look, the Stein the other faction, the Hawkins faction, is not playing fair. She said, well, the former presidential candidate would never pick a winner so soon. I said, who's that on stage at Hawkins' launch event? Isn't that Ajamu? And she said, oh shit. And I said, you better get your ass in gear because this group is coming for you. And I mean, maybe about 2 months later, she finally admitted to me, and this is Jill Stein, that she had agreed to be a surrogate for Hawkins. And this is middle of 2019.
So how is your relationship with Jill Stein in July of 2020?
We talked on and off. How was my relationship after I heard that? Let me put it to you this way. Jill Stein is an incredibly nice person. She's very difficult to disappoint. When I heard that she was troubled morally, this is the way she kind of put it, because she told Hawkins that she would be a surrogate for him, but then also felt some kind of, how do I put this? I don't know, something like she owed something, I guess, to Dario and to me. I didn't really think much of it at the time. I pushed her as hard as I could to get involved in the fight, because this fight, let me be real clear about this. You got to understand what we're talking about here, all right? The Hawkins faction, like I said before, kept the list of all the folks that Stein was radicalizing against them. Well, I went to, Salem, Massachusetts for the Green Party forum last year. There were folks, how do I put, shaking my hand right and left and thanking me for, coming out so hard against the faction, the Zeese faction, the Hawkins faction, and they knew. And when I sat down, we had a private meeting after I published the letter. that, I mean, I don't know how else to say it. It was kind of a shut up or else meeting with Kevin and Margaret, where they really just wanted to sit with me one-on-one and bully me around. I brought my whole team with me. We weren't going to accept that. And this was in probably mid-July 2019. They made it clear that they knew every person who was opposed to them being in the Green Party. They have a list. If you don't like Kevin and Margaret or Andrea and the Green Party, guess what? They know exactly who you are, and they know exactly how to push your buttons, and they will kick you out before this is over. So I just want to make it very clear that but I gotta say this, because this is really important, and I say that about a lot of things, but this is the way it is. It only kind of occurred to me now, and maybe I was just so dazzled by Stein, that this was really kind of her fault. I mean, over and over and over again, she was the one that knew how dangerous this faction was. Yet for reasons that I think she needs to explain, she made a deal to be Hawkins' surrogate in the middle of 2019. I mean, that to me, right then and there, I kind of knew it was over. I kind of knew it was done. And so at that point, I kind of said, I'm going to stay in this fight. I'll be the punching bag for all the candidates. And, I'm just going to come right out with the truth all around, because we're just, this is what I kind of want to do. I kind of want to be done with this chapter of my life, because this was 7 fucking years thrown down the drain on the Green Party kind of here. So, I told Dario he's got my endorsement whenever he wants it. I think Dario still had the ear of some folks that were telling him to go softer, go softer, go softer. Don't embarrass the party. Look, when I walked into the Salem, Massachusetts debate, and I think that was August or July 2019, everyone was asking me, do you know what SKCM is going to do? Who is that? That is Sydenham Curry. She's going to kick my ass because I'm not saying her full name. And, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Sydenham. Sydenham is a pain in the ass to work with. If she's listening to this, Sydenham, you know that. But Sydenham was fucking right. Sydenham was fucking right. The Green Party, will railroad you, will kick your ass out if they don't like the way you look, they don't like the way you talk, they don't like the way your organizing style is. And it's a party of polite white people. So it's based in racism. Sydenham would blow up my phone repeatedly telling me to join a meeting or something like that. And she was damn right to do it. And, I don't know what else to say. So everyone was asking me, what is Sydenham going to do? She's going to protest thing, right? She's going to embarrass everyone. She's going to embarrass everyone. She's going to embarrass everyone. Everyone on stage, essentially, started to attack Hawkins at the forum, right?
Okay.
This is how it would go. Sydenham says something. No one in the audience cares. It's attack on Hawkins. No one responds. Dario Hunter says something in the audience. No one in the audience responds, even though it was like a really poignant, clear attack about, something that Hawkins did. I say the exact same thing that these two folks did. Dario, mind you, is a Princeton-educated lawyer and a rabbi.
Yeah. I'm
a fucking blue-collar worker who puts in computers all fucking day. But for some reason, when I said it, literally, the Howie Hawkins faction would, in the audience, boo, boo, boo. It was like dealing with children. Because they're a fucking pack of racists. They did not want to attack them directly.
You don't fill in enough boxes on identity politics bingo, though. You don't. And I like Dario. Like, Dario's been on the show. He's been on the vigil. I don't have any problem with Dario at all. In fact, if he was running in the Democratic Party, like, he checks off, I think, 5 boxes for identity politics bingo. Like, he wins. He does. Yeah. And the way that, look, man, the way that you got treated throughout all of this, because I was, it's not like I was there, but I've spoken to you a number of times, and I got kind of, a feel for it. And, I talked to Dario, and I talked to Chad Wilson. And so I got a pretty clear picture about how everyone but Howie Hawkins was being treated during this entire primary.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Can I just say one more thing just about
of
the
course,
debate? Yeah, just to be clear about this too. After the debate was over, because Jill Stein was a moderator, she finally turned around and said, "Hey, there's a problem here." Because I think she respected me and Dario enough that if we're saying it, not just people that she's disqualifying out of hand, like Sidanam, that maybe she's going to do something about it. And she said at the end of that debate she was going to look into this. Never did. Never looked into it. And at the end of that debate, actually, someone actually took a flyer of mine, and we know who it is. It's the head of the Hawkins faction, and literally wrote like a bunch of like childish, nasty shit about Reverend Chambers and myself on this flyer. I'll never fucking forget it. I still have the flyer, and it was just the
is it
most
handy?
childish shit. What?
Is it handy?
No, I don't have it
What?
on me.
Oh.
All right, yeah, I don't have it on me. But I mean, this was just some childish shit. And Jill, I showed it to Jill. Jill knew exactly who it was. I mean, she said she was going to do something about it. She didn't do anything. And in my opinion, you don't tell people for years and years and years how bad this other faction is, and then the moment they offer you a surrogate spot, because you'll have money to fly around the country, you'll have media appearances, they'll be giving you probably a monthly allowance or something like that to do what you need to on the campaign. I mean, you just take it and you walk away from all the folks that you said needed to be in the fight. I mean, that to me is the most disturbing act of political cowardice I've ever seen. Say what you want about the Hawkins faction. At least they stay consistent and committed to the fight. To just walk out on the soldiers that you told to fight this battle in the middle of the fucking battle when it's heating up the most, like Jill Stein did, is just pure cowardice. I don't know what else to say. I mean, you ask me how my relationship is with her. I mean, I gave her that one last chance at the end of the debate, and that was it. It was over. I mean, she called me a couple times. I haven't answered the phone. I can't talk to her anymore. I don't see what we'd have to say. I think she genuinely feels bad how badly Margaret and Kevin are treating me. I've never seen a steering committee member like Margaret just take such like an active role in trolling people on the internet. But this is what the Green Party has become, thanks to spinelessness from the other side that was supposed to fight back. I did my job. I fought back. That's all I can say.
A very long time ago. It's been 20 years. I was a Green Party member, and I had volunteered for Nader's campaign, and what I saw just as a volunteer, like not even remotely an insider, but just being there and fucking hanging out a little bit, going to a couple of meetings, and then just campaigning for Ralph. Was that it was ran, I don't know, almost, but it seemed like it was being ran by people who had no interest whatsoever in actually winning an election or pursuing an agenda, or trying to get policy that they would talk about loosely but never really formulated, never real like cogent, cohesive policy narratives that people could take and roll with. And that was enough, man. That experience was enough. And I have voted for Greens. In fact, I still vote for Cynthia McKinney. And I realized that she's not a Green anymore. Haven't been able to ask her why she left the party. But it would stand to reason if the same sort of fuckery that I experienced 20 years ago, was anything like that for her as a presidential candidate, or if she faced an opposing faction within the party that was just not into her way of thinking or her way of doing business. This stands to reason that you would leave the party and you would go and do some other things. I mean, when you left and you came on Slow News Day to talk about it, I believe I said this is starting to sound a lot like the DNC in 2016. And you earlier in this evening's broadcast said that it was worse. And I want to know how the Green Party power faction is worse than a pack of war criminals and pedophiles.
Well, this is going to be real interesting because the Green Party power faction is about to take over. I mean, they're going to have full, now that Jill Stein is going to be a surrogate for Hawkins, they're going to have basically full control of even what she says. So you're about to see the party fundamentally change. I mean, everything I've seen says it's going to shrink. They're not going to tolerate people that don't agree with their viewpoint. Maybe they'll change their mind. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm not in the Green Party anymore. You know, and in fact, there's been a lot of interesting revelations recently about Kevin Zeese in particular, and some of his organizations being funded by George Soros, which I did not know about. Never mentioned that to me. I always thought he was some kind of textbook millionaire. That's what I was told he got his money from. This was real interesting. But if you're talking about like controlled oppo, or, you know, like controlled opposition, where you want a smaller party that's never going to actually win, I couldn't think of a better guy to run than Howie Hawkins. I mean, he kind of, you know, I mean, he's very nice to Greens, and he's not going to win, and he's not exciting. So, I mean, I don't get it. But I'll give you a list of a couple of names: Josh Harris here in Baltimore, Elijah Manley in Florida, Jabari Brisport in New York, and now Dario Hunter. All three of the first I mentioned have gone from the Green Party to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Why? Because they represent communities that are in peril, and the Green Party isn't actually interested in winning. They're not actually interested in winning anything. You can't go home every day and say, well, I did go on a show today and talk about how important it is for people in my community to have food, but I did absolutely nothing to help them. That's not acceptable when you are in communities that are in the middle of a struggle for survival. And so I would dare say that's why a lot of folks are leaving the Green Party. Dario Hunter being the last name on the list, who now is running as an independent.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, I completely understand, and I give him all the luck in the world. I wish him well, because I was asked. I mean, a lot of people were disappointed when I just left the race. My whole message was about the fact that the Green Party isn't building locally. I've said it every campaign stop I went to. You don't start a video game by running to the boss at the very end of the game and get your ass kicked. You go through the levels, level up your character, level up your team if you're in an RPG, and then you take on the boss. Where is the leveling up in the Green Party? Where are we focusing our efforts? And, you know, I could go on all day about ballot access and shit like this, because so many folks just throw ballot access in my face. Ballot access, focus on ballot access. No, we don't. Ballot access is a tool that the Democrats use to have us waste all of our money on. Focus on winning independent seats. That's where Dario's from. He won an independent seat. I mean, this is just idiocy. We have someone sitting, you know, as an independent right now, you know, in one of the in Minneapolis, I believe. Like, there's no reason to throw all your money away. But guess who will help you throw your money away on ballot access? Howie Hawkins is there. So you can literally take your money that you allocated as a independent state Green Party and hand it over to the Hawkins campaign, and they will hand you a staffer. And that staffer will be half Howie Hawkins, half ballot access coordinator. And I mean, when you pull stupid shit like that, I don't know what to say. I mean, if the Green Party is literally going to let the Hawkins team buy staffers for the Green Party, I don't know. I mean, that's obviously wrong. Everyone would know that's wrong. If the guy in my area responsible for keeping the Democrats on the ballot line was the same guy also getting a paycheck from Clinton, I'd be a little concerned if I was a Bernie supporter. That's obvious. And, you know, I mean, so many of the things the Green Party did along the way were just egregious. The North Carolina Green Party, I was on a show where a nice guy, I know I'm going to get hate from Chad. Chad's a great guy too, by the way. Chad, if you're listening, you're a great guy. Everyone gives Chad shit, but he's a good guy. You know, because he's not willing to stop talking about the corruption, and that's important. You know, I was arguing with Justin Beth, and Justin Beth, nice guy, moderate, you know, that kind of thing. You know, he knows he was on the shit list of these folks too. You know, he was arguing, saying like, you know, we can't control what the states do. But I said, but Justin, these folks are so far ahead. Like North Carolina, who, if you look at, was clearly in the Green Party Power Project, clearly in on the Hawkins faction, literally didn't even let Dario get on the ballot. It was just him on the ballot. It was just Hawkins. And then you could hit none of the above. And then that was ranked choice voting, so you could choose one or two. Wow, that's a progress. It's not progress. It's not electoral reform. That's just rigging an election. And it's blatant. Oklahoma had 6 people. 6 people choose all of their delegates. Or maybe it was 8. Maybe I'm not being fair. They had thousands of people vote for Jill Stein in 2012 and 2016. Those thousands of folks were not asked to participate in the election. The Green Party does not do an open primary. They don't even do a closed primary. They have a social club-like atmosphere where if you know the guy and you're invited to the pool party on the day that they do a head count for the primary, you get a say. And guess what? If that guy's a Hawkins supporter and you're a Dario supporter, you ain't going to be invited to the pool party. That's how it works. It's not a goddamn party. It's a social club.
Wow. I read after maybe it was right before the Greens had their coronation of Howie Hawkins. No, it had to have been afterwards. But if you eliminated California from the voter rolls, Hawkins got less than 300 votes.
That's right. It's not it. That was by design. It was by design. It's so important to understand that. I mean, let's just talk about the actual. I think your audience might really find this interesting because the Greens, because of COVID-19, had to all of a sudden, and I put that in air quotes, not to get in a whole thing with COVID-19, but to be the fact that the COVID-19 was used as an excuse to actually say why we can't have any dissent at the convention. So people that I knew, I mean, I work with them in Maryland, were floor managers, and they did a webinar style, like a style that a school would do when one professor is talking to all of his pupils, which is you have to raise your hand. Mm-hmm. Raise your hand. You can't do a floor style management system. You can't have a protest of your delegates can't protest if you have to raise your hand. You raise your hand and you say, hey, I'm protesting on behalf of Dario. Hey, I'm protesting on behalf of Jesse Ventura. Hey, I'm protesting on behalf of Chad Wilson. Hey, I'm protesting on behalf of Dennis Lambert. Nope, not recognized, not recognized, not recognized, not recognized. So you couldn't even have even the goddamn, I mean, look, I think that if you, I've gone to the DSA convention once, and I saw their model there, and it's a hell of a model, and it's fucking messy. But you could protest so loudly that they have to hear you at the DSA convention. They have to take a floor vote. Even the Democrats do that. Even the Democrats, by their own codes, have to at least allow you to visibly protest. They may ignore it, but they have to allow it. The Greens didn't even allow it. If you were a spectator at home, you saw nothing. You saw nothing. There wasn't even an active chat. I mean, it was just, and the folks that were on the chat were silenced if they were just protesting at home.
Right.
And so I think your folks might be interested in this because that is, I mean, the DNC hasn't even done that yet because they haven't gone through their convention. But this is definitely going to be the case. But I mean, if you could do a better job than Hillary Clinton did in 2016 with the with the noise suppression systems. Reverend Annie Chambers, my mentor, was a Bernie Sanders delegate. She was there at the convention. They had to move seats back. They had to take their seats back. They had to chant louder than silence white noise machines above their heads. Mm-hmm. It was freaking pathetic. But this was better than that. I mean, there's really no way to say it.
Because they let them in the room and they had to turn on the white noise machines. Although there were a number of Bernie Sanders delegates that found that their seats had been taken.
Yep.
When they like that convention, dude, I can't. And this is a little bit off subject, but I promise I will stay in the vein of the conversation for the rest of it. But after everything that happened in 2016, that the Democratic Party is 100% wholly responsible for, including the fraud lawsuit where their attorney, Bruce Spiva, said technically there's no such thing as a Democrat, and we have the right to pre-select our candidates in smoke-filled back rooms, and giving us money and telling us it goes to your candidate doesn't mean it'll go to your candidate, because we don't have to operate by our own rules and bylaws. Suck it, and like, the Democrats are still a party, and there's still a party that Bernie Sanders ran in again, and there's still a party that people give fucking money to, and it to me, it speaks to the absolute lack of a goddamn plan and people you can trust inside the Green Party or the Libertarian Party, or the fucking PSL. And then you also see it in things like Movement for a People's Party. It's so fucking mind-boggling that these entities still exist after everything that they have put their supporters through.
But that's the thing that really just drives me up. That's the thing that makes me just hit the roof. Is that why did the Green Party, both factions, mind you, who are basically in 100% control if you take both factions and add them together, why did you waste all of the candidates' time pretending there was a primary?
Yeah.
You could have just gotten enough members on the steering committee to say, Howie's my buddy, fuck his policies, fuck his dead naming, fuck everything else about this guy, it's a problem. I don't give a shit about that. I just know he's a cool dude. And then just go ahead and cancel the fucking primary. Why would you waste my goddamn time? I don't understand it. I really, to this day, I cannot understand it. And I to this day, I'm still gobsmacked. But
was
I mean,
there
at least
money involved? Was there money? Like, were they able to generate, a decent amount of cash for the Green Party?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the thing that's really important to understand, is that the Hawkins faction is doing a phenomenal job of leveraging the two things they got. One is money, which is really not that much money. They're way behind where Jill Stein was. Way behind. The other thing is jobs. And this is where they were really, really smart. By integrating ballot access coordinators into their team, they literally could say, how loyal are you to Howie? And maybe you'll get a ballot access coordinator job. Andrea Merida ain't going to give you a job unless you pledge allegiance to Howie, Hawkins, and the faction. And that means getting on Twitter, and that means, being as revile and trolling just like the Hawkins faction does. I mean, there are so many people that I know that were like, I'm really not happy with the way that this is going because I don't like all the negativity, but I really don't like Howie and I don't like the faction behind him. And, I was like, well, if we don't speak out against the rigging, what are we going to do? Just talk nothing about, but like, I can't even get on the stage compared to Howie. Like, it's not even remotely close to being fair. And there were so many times where Greens just accepted it. There was one guy from Florida earlier, nice guy. I mean, I say this all the time. I guess because I'm white, I just see people and I go, "Oh, nice person." What white people do, they're polite, right? And a nice guy. And he was like, "Aren't you a nice guy too? Shouldn't we talk about, the Green Party going on to Florida?" And I wrote, I was like, dude, in Florida, Andrea Merida actually came on stage and said, "I'm here today with two hats. One is I'm the co-chair of the Green Party, and the other one I'm Howie Hawkins' campaign manager. No big deal. Continue the charade." And it's like, what the fuck? Like, that is 1,000 times worse than the DNC. The Democrats don't even have the balls to pull a move like that.
You're correct. So I'm starting to see why you're saying, and I'm not looking at it. I was looking at it in terms of cast of characters, not in terms of decisions made and how these things played out. So I do agree with that assessment. I do. As far as cast of characters go, I still think the DNC is a little bit worse, but that's because we know for a fact.
Well, the DNC's got like honest to God war criminals in it. I mean, that's worse. I gotta give you that.
So is this why? Because of Andrea's bullying, we'll call, or her aggressive style of campaign management? Is that why we saw individual state Green parties tweeting support for Howie Hawkins and promoting Howie Hawkins like before their primaries were cast?
I can't get away from the fact enough that this was treated like a social club. I mean, it was so bad that at one point in Chicago, it was like, here's a forum that not everyone is invited to. All right. But then after the forum, the Green Party of Chicago or Green Party of Illinois presents an evening with Howie Hawkins. It's like, what the I mean, you can't even make that shit up. But, where's the actual event and who's going to go to which one? I don't know what to say. I don't know why. I mean, first of all, the fact that the Greens from the beginning try to impose the DNC or the Republican model of primary systems on the populace right there is on the voters is problem number one. Why are we recreating the failed system of the Democratic and Republican primaries? Have one easy day to vote. Everyone that votes gets to vote in a national primary. It should be that simple. Hype it up as much as you possibly can. Get as much media attention for that one day. Everyone casts their vote on the one day, and we all have an outcome early on. I don't get why you would recreate this failed system. But second of all, I mean, to the Green Party, it's even worse than that, because the Green Party was involved in some of the lawsuits against the supposedly independent election debate body that does the debates for the Democrats and Republicans, and some of the lawsuits that actually got the thing you're talking about from Spiva, basically admitting on the Democratic side that we could just choose people in a back room.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And so to have to go from someone like Jill fighting those and saying we shouldn't be like this, to then the Hawkins faction saying we're going to do exactly this because, hey, we can get in power this way, is a problem. I mean, to say the least. I mean, why are you even wasting your time with these folks? I don't get it. And the number one issue that I can't stress enough is that if you're supposedly the fighter for oppressed communities of color, and yet you kick out Sydenham because you don't like the way that she talks or her style of organizing. Okay. I mean, Sydenham, that's why I keep saying Sydenham's a pain in the ass, because I think she's a pain in the ass. But I would never kick her off the debate stage. That would be fucking stupid, and also, like, kind of a bad look. I mean, maybe even racist in the middle of a Black Lives Matter uprising. I mean, it's just stupid. I mean, what is your problem? But then to go and say the exact same thing about Dario, oh, he's impolite. Oh, I don't like the way that he's dealing with this. The man is a Princeton-educated lawyer. What more white people credentials do you want him to have in his back pocket? Right. I mean, fuck you. I mean, seriously, fuck you all. I mean, that is, I don't know what else to call it but racist.
Look, I've seen Dario heated, and Dario heated is like that's how I wake up if I'm going to work. That, like, I know that I have, I appear calm quite a bit, but it really doesn't take much to just bam, and I'm and Dario is I guess he's bound by his faith to not swear a lot, But like I can't see a situation where Dario Hunter is the biggest asshole in the room.
I mean, if speaking truth to power is what you consider being an asshole and making the party look bad, then I guess everyone's an asshole, and that's exactly the line they've taken: is that everyone who ran against Hawkins is an asshole.
The only way you
I mean, that's a shitty. If every single Democrat said it was rigged for Biden, every single one of the candidates didn't endorse Biden, I think you'd have a story there. I think you'd have people saying, wait a minute, we should look into this. But the Green Party continues to say, nothing to see here. And there's nothing else for me to say other than it is the peak of white privilege to just continue to say, I don't like someone speaking truth to power to me, so I'm going to just shut them off, or I'm going to just accuse them of being a saboteur. I mean, like, it's just it's fucking insane. It's absolutely fucking insane.
Every single time I have ever heard a neoliberal say to like a Bernie Sanders supporter or to someone like me who does not support political parties and the system at all in any way, shape, or form, whenever they say, if you do this or if you say this, you're damaging the party. What that means is we're doing really shady shit that we want to cover up. And that's the only translation for that, is we're trying to cover up a fucking horrific thing right now. And if you talk about it, you're going to damage the party. The only thing that damages the party is covering it up when your party does a bunch of horrific shit. That damages the party.
I mean, or don't do horrific shit. I mean, that one might be the best way to go about it.
When you speak truth to power and you're speaking it to the Green Party, the fucking, I don't know, the marketing says, of course the Green Party is going to listen, and of course they're going to address these things, and of course they're trying to build a viable party nationally. Of course they are. So why the fuck wouldn't they listen to you when you speak truth to power? And the reality of the situation, Ian Schlakman, what I have heard from you, what I've heard from multiple people in the Green Party and other folks that have done really good work digging and interviewing people and getting this information out there, is that they're a fucking very tightly wound private club with an agenda set by the people in that private club. And if you're not a part of that private club, your vote doesn't matter, your concerns don't matter, and party be damned, get on board because we run this shit.
I can't. I mean, first of all, if you consider yourself too small and, any out criticism against you would be too damaging, then do what like PSL did and don't have a primary. Like, it's not that complicated. Just have the internal party leaders selected. You're small. You want to keep it tight. You want to keep someone on the ballot. That's a great idea. Go ahead. That's fine by me. I don't give a crap. Just don't lie to everyone telling them you had a fucking primary when you didn't. The second issue with this that really just really pisses me off is that you are, the idea that you can't say anything because it'll make the party look bad is just like I don't even know. How on earth can you be the credible electoral reform party if that's your modus operandi in the middle of your primary? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. There's no committee that you could go to for an ethics complaint. There's no committee that you could go to for serious violations within the party. There's nothing you could do. It's lunacy. It's lunacy. That's why it's a social club and not a party. And I dare say it's turning into a cult. But I just want to let all your viewers know, don't work with the Green Party. I mean, don't do it. I mean, I don't know what else to say. If you really enjoy wasting years of your life, I mean, the Green Party is good. I'll take, I mean, the Green Party, people ask me, why did I leave? And, when I do work in Douglas Homes in Baltimore, people come up to me all the time and they say, "Oh, are you a politician?" And I say, no, not really. I work in Chambers. They say, "What political party are you with?" And I used to say Green. And if I'm the only person there from the Green Party, and I mean, Margaret and Kevin came down like once. I'll give them that. They came down like once to the food giveaway we do. All right. But if I'm the only person there consistently in the streets of Baltimore over and over and over and over again, and I'm saying I'm the Green Party, that's just bullshit, I mean, the party is not putting any real effort into growing in working class communities, in communities of color, in poor communities. It's not doing it. And I can't help but make this comparison. If you look at like the DSA, first with AOC, now with Jabari Brisport, they seem committed to helping communities of color get socialist elected. I don't know what else to say. The proof is in the fucking pudding. They're electing.
I would say that AOC is the same kind of socialist as Nancy Pelosi. Like, if you look at her voting record is neoliberal. Her rhetoric is socialist as fuck. Sometimes.
This is a real important point, because if you compare AOC to Hawkins, their talking points are real fucking similar. They're not anti-imperialist.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is a major fucking problem, in my opinion.
The phrase that I've used, or that I've heard many people use to describe Howie Hawkins, is soft imperialist. And it's a distinction without a difference if you're fucking bombing poor brown people for their natural resources.
But what I think that's a really important point. I'm glad you made it. But what's important to me for the people in the U.S. that are looking to get involved with elections, and elections are a whole fraught nightmare. Just to be very clear about that, it took I worked with the DSA for quite a while years ago, and it took the New York City DSA a really long time to get a foothold and develop a power structure to get people elected. So I'm just going to leave it there for that. But I want people to understand, this is really an important point. If the Green Party's like whole thing now is like, oh, Bernie lost, but Hawkins is similar to Bernie, like, that's an interesting model, considering that the DSA was built around Bernie. And if you go work with the DSA, you could actually win an election on the ground. Meanwhile, Hawkins is just there to make you part from your money and hand it over to the Hawkins faction, where they will give out jobs to AMC loyalists. That is the new role of the Green Party. That is why this whole battle was fought. At the end of the 2016 election, I was in Margaret Flowers' living room. She said, "I'm pissed at Jill Stein. Jill Stein raised a lot of money on this recount. I have debts from my campaign. I want that money." I mean, that doesn't make any sense from a legal standpoint, because you can't just transfer money like that from one account to another. But that's when the gear started to turn on the Hawkins faction, the Zeus, Kevin, and Andrea faction. That's when they realized that the real power of the party is in who they run for president. And I want to be real clear about this too. They've got a whole network of folks. I don't care. I could not care less about them or their faction or any of their perks of their faction. But let me be clear what those perks are, because it's not just money now that they have the Green Party presidential campaign captured. It's not just jobs. It's not just expenses like Jill Stein's going to get now from being a Hawkins surrogate. It's also media appearances. It's really important to understand that. So they pushed as hard as they possibly could to some of their folks on RT to get Howie on there. And some of those folks this is all about friendship. I don't know what else to say. It's all about friendship. At the end of the 2019 forum in Salem, all right, I watched Margaret and Kevin take Ajamu Baraka out to like one of the most expensive restaurants in Salem. Like, this is how they operate. Like, they're whining and dining folks to keep them in line when people are hearing negative things. And, you know, they get the talking points from Margaret and Kevin and AMC, and then they dish it back out. That's how it operates. But the other part is media appearances, too. They tried so hard to get Howie ahead on media appearances. And I think, like, maybe, like, what? Hedges and Lee Camp had him on before he got the nomination, but other like folks wouldn't even take it. I mean, I don't know what to say because I don't really want to like blow up anyone on RT. But the problem is like, I really think this is important because folks like fucking Howie are always saying like, oh, you know, Russia's involved in meddling on our election. Fuck Russia. You're getting on fucking RT because of your fucking connections with fucking with fucking Zeus and Flowers. It has nothing. It has everything to do with a small media network that that Zeus is at the center of, and had nothing fucking to do with fucking Russia. But he'll fucking gladly sit there, on Lee Camp's show, and then the next night Lee Camp is just spatted on by NPR for being a fucking faithful idiot to Russia. I mean, this whole thing is so fucking stupid, but I hope your audience understands that this was all is a show. It's a sideshow. There's nothing to see here. If you want to do real anti-imperialist work, Green Party ain't it. It's not happening for you. There's nothing to see. They're not interested in that. They're interested in separating you from your money on a campaign that's going to get less than Jill Stein's percentage. And I don't know what else to say about it.
And that's the fucking craziest thing about it. Is that the constant refrain from the Green Party is that, you know, we need that magic 5%. We need that magic 5% and the matching federal funds. And once we have that for our one race a year that we really ever pay attention to or focus on, once we have that, then from the top down, we can start building out the party. And I have never understood that, Ian. That's been one of my biggest frustrations with the Greens. I have called them controlled opposition for the last several years, but in a more like, why the fuck would you have a third party that does this? Like that operating model where it's we need that 5% and then from the top down we can build out the party.
What's even sadder is, you know, I mean, we have Greens from all over. At the end of the Salem Assembly, we actually had International Green come up because the Green Party is an international organization. And we asked them, always ask them in the Green Party, how do you win? How do you win? How do you win? How do you win? Want to win here in the U.S.? And she said, make political alliances. Like, get folks that you kind of agree with in other parties to work with you and to start showing that you can actually be an important force politically. And guess who is the number one opponent of ever working with even the most, like, you know, I mean, there are certain members of, I guess you can call them the squad, I hate that term, that are like, you know, they're better, let's just put it this way, they're better on imperialist issues than Hawkins. I will give them that. And, you know, I think that what you see a movement for a People's Party doing is like, we're going to talk to fucking Democrats and then we're going to build down ticket. That to me is a much better strategy. I think the DSA is way more poised to become an actual third party if they ever wanted to. They probably won't, you know, because they're having too much incest inside the Democratic Party to really bother being a third party.
They are the Democratic Party. They are. And they have been since like 1974. Like it's one of those, the DSA is there to make sure people keep voting in a party that does not represent them, won't represent them, even if you get your fucking candidate into Congress. Like, look, if you've got a machine, all right, and it's the U.S. political system, and if you had any other machine that was designed to kill you, your solution to this problem wouldn't be to put a couple of shiny new parts on it every 2 to 4 years, because all you're doing is prolonging the life of a machine designed to kill you.
I think that's a really apt comparison. My
Thank
I
you.
tell this to everyone that asks me about the DSA. The DSA was a strictly Democratic controlled machine. You look at the Harrington days, like it was literally part of like the FBI. Like there's no excusing that. The DSA now, and this is really fucked up, but this is gonna, this is what they're doing. Every single small political a socialist organization has quote unquote infiltrated the DSA. Every single socialist organization that you've ever heard of is also dual member with the DSA. I mean, that's really important for your folks to understand. And because of the DSA's democratic structure, they are all like jointly trying to rip it apart and put it back together again. The DSA is frankly a uber chaotic demonstration and liquid democracy. The people in it just run in and out. Membership is difficult to keep track of. It's really chaos. But the one thing they have done is they've managed to cobble together a political alliance that can get people elected. It's not anti-imperialist. Well, that's not really fair. I think that's to be seen. I really think that's to be seen. I really like Jabari Brisport. I can't wait till he's in the Senate in New York, and I want to see what he does. So I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there with the DSA. But I dare say, I will take. When I first started this campaign, I literally said to Greens, "Why do we have these lackluster, boring conventions, and the DSA has these full-on floor fights that are just like pitting people against you? It's more exciting. It's more interesting. It feels like you could be a part of something. Where are the young people in the Green Party? Why are they not joining us in droves?" And I was there to tell people that it's because we don't focus on down-ticket candidates. And, that message was not one that people wanted to hear, or so it's gone.
Look, if you want to build a party, if you want to build any kind of a movement, there has to be a fuck ton of activity at the local level.
Yeah.
The only way that shit works. And I still, like I said it on Twitter the other day in regards to this primary. The fuck did the Green Party think was going to happen when their base, their voters, their rank and file are people that are already activists of some sort, largely, or people who had just got fucked over in 2016 again by the Democratic Party because they rigged their fucking primary. And you're going to do that? And you're going to expect those same people to vote for your guy? Like, it's counterintuitive.
I mean, it's only intuitive if you think about it in the terms of money. I mean, that's really what this is about. And that's why I really don't want people to waste their time any longer. I think that people need to be aware that, there's a reason that the Green Party focuses on the top of the ticket. And it's because that's where all the money is, that's where all the power is in the organization, and it's not going to stop this cycle, and it's probably going to happen again next cycle. There's not really an effort here to do something serious. I mean, if you want to do something serious and something that's electorally radical or radically democratic, you would completely change the way the primary looks. You wouldn't emulate exactly what the Democrats did, which is pretty much what the Green Party has done, only they perfected it. And so I just want, I think it's something else that I really want people to understand is that, this is what's going to happen at the DNC. I mean, buckle in. I mean, because of COVID-19, they're going to just make every excuse in the world as to why they can't possibly have anyone there protesting. So it's a sad political affair, but this is where we're at. But if I can help one person understand what they're getting into, if you love the Green Party power faction and all the people I've mentioned, and you think that's the way you want to organize, then go ahead and join the Hawkins campaign. But all those Greens that were for like the past 5 years. I mean, I had Jill Stein literally tell me once that she apologized for getting Margaret and Kevin back into the Green Party because at one point they left. And, she was responsible for getting them back in because I think she was responsible for picking Ajamu with Margaret. That was their pick.
I feel like real quick, just to cover my own bases, man, because I have never had a bad experience with Kevin Zeese. I have never had a bad experience with Margaret Flowers, but I have had them on the Free Assange vigil, and Kevin was on the Free Assange vigil, and I don't know, dude. We're not involved with them in a political thing, they gave the popular resistance thumbs up for our actions in DC. You showed up to those. You showed up to that. Yeah, that was cool. That you guys came down.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with popular resistance except for Soros funded stuff. But that little snide comment aside, I mean, their organizing style is one that a lot of the Greens have hated for years and complained about to me. But I couldn't fight that war myself. I'm out of the party. I wish the Stein folks and the moderate Greens best of luck under their new benevolent leaders, as they're forced to call them. AMC, Zeese, and Flowers. And I mean, they're going to reshape the party, I'll tell you that. So buckle in, because I think you're going to see a different kind of Green Party. I mean, I'm not going to be there with you, though. I mean, I got too much work to do on the ground.
What do you have going on, man? Because you are not involved in politics anymore, obviously. So please let people know what you're up to and
I mean, I really wanted to just get the story out there of what happened, because everyone's asking, how can Jill and Ajamu be for this guy? I mean, this is how it happened. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, so at least you know the story now. For me personally, I've been thinking about some kind of next steps. I really want to do some anti-imperialist work. I think that's sorely neglected. My comrades over there at the People's Power Assembly are right there with me every step of the way. But I think we got to keep expanding and growing on the anti-imperialist work. I kind of want to do more non-sectarian stuff. I think there's a lot of sectarianism out there among socialist groups, and I've always been someone trying to get rid of that.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Yeah. You want to talk about that for a second, or you got to go?
I mean, no, I could talk about it for a minute. I mean, they're for those that are not initiated, and I always try to stay out of this. And by the way, someone that's really invested in this fight is Harry Hawkins. You could get him going all day on this topic, because no matter what he says about being a blue-collar worker, he is actually a professor, and he writes a lot about Marxist stuff, but particularly Trotskyist stuff. And he is a certain type of Trotskyist.
Jesus Christ.
He's a very specific
I've been
type
around
of
socialist
Trotskyist.
circles before, and I know exactly what the fuck you're talking about. And I believe Joe Kishore is right there with him.
That's what's so weird about it. I don't really know much about the SEP, the Socialist Equality Party that he's part of. And, if they're Trotskyist, but they claim to be anti-imperialist, I say, I want to hear you out. I'll hear that out. Sure, why not? I'm not one of those people that says we gotta, just kick everyone out because back fucking 100 years ago some shit happened. I don't fucking know. I'm not a historian. I put cables under desks all day. I don't fucking know about history and shit. That's my fucking job. But I do know that I want more people to be anti-imperialist. I do know that we have to stand up to the empire. And we are living in the empire. We are the empire here in the U.S. And so another project that I really want to be involved in, I'm basically starting like 3 fucking projects at once, because the on the ground work.
You're a fucking masochist.
I hate myself. That's so true. I mean,
do you have any? I've been involved in so much shit that I don't know, dude. Yeah.
Well, we're doing a lot of on the ground work in Baltimore, which we're going to be expanding pretty soon, because COVID-19 is not going away, despite what everyone trying to reopen the economy wants to tell you. And even if we reopen the economy, I'm not a capitalist. I ain't going back to that. So, we're trying to do some work around getting people's basic needs met. And I'm trying to marry the idea of actual on the ground organizing with some frameworks around what human rights actually means in this country. Because I'm sick and tired of hearing about the one thing that the Democrats and Republicans agree on: and maybe Hawkins, just to throw some shade there, is that China's so bad because of the Uyghur situation over here. It's like, dude, you can't say we put people in cages over here. And all this shit about Trump, and then the next minute you want to go over there and fucking let Trump loose on China. That makes no fucking sens. That's
Well,
not it's not realistic. It's fucking stupidity.
Uyghur Muslims are Wahhabist, and those are the U.S. empire's homies.
See,
Like, that's just for whatever reason, Saudi oil. We fuck with the Wahhabists, and that's who the Uyghurs are, and they're coming to be that particular kind of religion and have that ideology flourish. And I am not saying that the Chinese are having a proportional response to that. It's very disproportional, and it's asymmetric, and it's fucking brutal.
We've got to have a reckoning of our own here in the U.S. to, I mean, you're seeing some really great changes in the U.S. actually with the Oklahoma verdict, basically saying that half of Oklahoma belongs to Native peoples is fucking amazing. And I think that until you have a Truth and Reconciliation Committee and then couple that with actual fucking money and resources, actual resources to every single group that we've wronged as the U.S. for years, then you would have the authority to go around the globe and, tell people how to run their fucking countries. But you don't have that authority right now. And I think the real way to make a true I really do worry about World War III starting up. I really think we're getting into dangerous times here. And I think one of the great ways to diffuse the tension would be to focus our energy back here at home and say, that we are absolutely not in a position to be lecturing the rest of the world. But if we were to fix our own shit here in the U.S. and set an example for other countries, then and only then would you be able to enter into like global alliances with other countries and actually like compete. When I was running for office, I was seriously talking about the idea of competing not for economic power or for military power, but for human rights points. Like for literally to say, I feed my country the best. No. Like we treat our people the best. No. Our minority population is treated the best. No. Every immigrant is welcome here in this country. That's the kind of global. That's how we get from here to like what you see in Star Trek. Like where we are right now is what you see in Mad Max. Donald Trump is like 2 minutes away from being on one of those speaker towers. So I think that this is I bet that he does something very similar before November. I bet that there's fucking Trump in a wild place, like doing some straight out of fucking Hollywood shit, because that's how he rolls, man. It's like he thinks in terms of like ratings and fucking gotcha moments and reality TV shit. And and Trump is so the symptom, man. I mean, that's what people need to understand. I mean, capitalism is the disease. The fact that the U.S. can't shut down its economy for a little while we recover for a virus is like the perfect metaphor for people that can't take off from work for one fucking day without getting evicted or getting their whole fucking life shattered. I mean, that is a great like living metaphor that we're in right now. But we've just got to put the pieces together for folks and keep up the pressure because, it's going to be co-opted. There's so many people out there just interested in themselves, and interested in their own pocketbook and getting their own brand, out there. And we've got to just really fucking move on. I mean, we need not just, we need a new human rights movement. We need a new peace movement. All of these things need to come together and form a cohesive unit where we could finally start having a conversation about how we evolve as a society to one that gives a shit about its own survival and its own people. So we just ain't there yet.
I'm with you 100%, man.
So I guess check out my Twitter if you want to follow along.
Do that.
Schlakman, Schlakman. If you're a Hawkins supporter, I'm going to immediately block you. Don't even waste your time. I'm not a Green Party person anymore. I don't owe you fucking shit. and good luck with your new leaders. But if you're anybody else, I'll gladly talk to you and engage you in conversation. Happy to do so.
Well, shit, Ian, thank you so much for being on tonight, man. I'm glad that we got this out here. I'm glad that I believe that there were a fair amount of Green Party, at least rank and file, in the chat tonight.
Anytime. I give a lot of credit, where credit's due. My other folks that were continued to run after me, they deserve way more credit than I do, and they're never given enough credit. That's super important. I wish Dario all the best in his new independent run, and I wish the Venturians all the best out there too. I got to give a shout out to them because they really brought new life to the fight at the very end there too. I think that was really important. Would have been more of a coronation than what we saw had they not come in. So I think it was a group effort, a team effort, and appreciate all the heavy lifting.
Hell yeah. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Slow News Day.
And thank you, Steve.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Anytime. You're one of my people. I love you.
I love you too. I can't forget.
Give our love to Rev Annie too.
I will, Josh. Absolutely.
The chat is wanting the same.
Just randomly today, I gotta give a shout out to Glory Jones. She retweeted the Mother's Day episode with Reverend Annie, where she talked about the Razor Brigade and shit, and told us who Tupac's real father was. Like, it was a cool couple of hours, man. It was. But she retweeted out that episode. She's like, I watched this regularly. Like, it was fucking
awesome.
Bad, dude.
That's so cool.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. So if you're watching right now and you haven't seen the Mother's Day show that we did with Reverend Annie, well, goddamn, you should. It was fantastic. Please give her my love. Absolutely. We will see you. Well, shit, I'll be on the Assange vigil tomorrow, so I will see you guys tomorrow night. And thank you, Sleep Josh, for doing what you do on them ones and them twos. And good luck to us all.